Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Ellen, and I'm a burnout stress management coach. And today I want to talk a little bit about a mindset shift that I've had recently. And it's a shift that, if you've been with me for a while, might be a little counterintuitive to a lot of what I've shared, over the last year or so. I've had a YouTube channel for a little over a year now, and I focused a lot in that YouTube channel about my systems, my Notion systems, the way in which I do weekly reviews and track health habits and whatnot. And what I really want to talk about today is why I have very much stopped diligently tracking my health habits in Notion. Now, over the years on this YouTube channel, I literally just said I've only had a YouTube channel for a year. Over the year on this YouTube channel, I have probably shared at least 3 different versions of a habit tracker that I've used. I'm kind of constantly iterating and figuring out what works, what doesn't in terms of my system. So I've probably tried at least 3 different habit trackers in my Notion system ever since I started sharing on YouTube. And ever since I started using Notion, I've used at least 3 different habit trackers. And, I think there's always something to be asked when you never feel settled in your system. Like, well, why do I constantly feel like things aren't working? And I think I went in kind of 2 very different directions with that. I started tracking way more things, thinking I needed, former scientist, that I needed more data to really make an impact on things. And now I've kind of swung in the opposite direction of maybe wondering, is there something to be said for having less, tracking less, and having less data? I think at first it started with Notion and being so excited about Notion as a system and a platform, which I still am, don't get me wrong. But I think I was so excited about the notion of using Notion as a system and a platform that I just started tracking like every little thing, like in exorbitant detail, because I think it was almost my means of learning the functionality of Notion by doing all of these like nitty-gritty little tracking things with it. Like, I started tracking every little habit, from morning stretches to water intake to workouts to how much I'd been lifting in that particular workout. Like, even down to the number of pages I'd read each day. It started to get a little ridiculous at points. And frankly, I think that's what I started to feel, is it's ridiculous. Like, who needs this much data? Over time, I just kind of found myself drowning in a sea of habits and had given myself way too many things to track, where instead of it feeling informative and like it was giving me knowledge about my daily habits and routines, it frankly just felt irritating and just more shit on my to-do list and in my life. I am I used to say recovered, but sometimes I've realized it's recovering perfectionist. And I think sometimes when you're dealing with habit tracking and you have any sort of perfectionistic characteristics, which a lot of us do, drop a comment below if you think you are a perfectionist. Ultimately, I felt immense pressure to check every little thing off. And when I didn't, it was like grounds to judge myself for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, whatever. And it frankly became overwhelming. I tried to simplify down the habits I was tracking. But really what I've kind of found is diligently tracking my habits, I think in some ways was almost doing more harm than good. It was giving me more grounds to judge myself, more things to feel like I needed to stay on top of. And when you have a business, there's already enough stuff to stay on top of. Hell, even if you're a corporate employee, there's enough shit to stay on top of, right? It was almost stealing my joy. And in the work that I do, I'm constantly thinking about burnout and stress and the things that add fulfillment and the things that take away joy. And I feel like having all of these things that I was tracking was almost stealing my joy and adding more stress to my life, not necessarily supporting me and helping me. So I made the decision, and it really was kind of a subconscious decision at first, to stop diligently tracking my habits. I kind of just got away from habit tracking. And then more and more I started to realize I like not tracking my habits. I like how it feels to not feel like my morning routine and my evening routine are these checklists that I need to accomplish and complete. Now, is this going to be a forever thing? I cannot tell you that. I'm perhaps going to get to a point, maybe when I take my business more full-time in 2024, where I can and find benefit in knowing how I'm doing with these and tracking these habits more diligently. I could definitely see myself, when the bandwidth is there again, to maybe go back to tracking. But I think I learned my lesson, that I see these people on YouTube who have these elaborate journaling routines and these elaborate habit trackers, and more power to them. I love that works for them, but the more I tried it, the more I realized it didn't work for me. And that having that tight of like this vice-like grip on my habits and my behaviors and my water intake and my pages read, sometimes you've just got to do the habit for how the habit makes you feel. I feel like that is really what this has brought awareness to for me, is been realizing that I get more well-being and more health and more fulfillment out of just kind of feeling my way through the day, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, than having this checklist that I need to accomplish. I'm already good enough at checklisting my way through life and really feeling like I need to have all of these XYZ things checked off the to-do list and checked off in my life for me to feel like I'm living my life well. And I'm kind of realizing I never want my self-care routines and my self-care habits to be something that becomes a stressor in my life. And I realized that diligently tracking these habits was creating that bit of a stressor. And I know inevitably there's going to be some person who kind of thinks, oh, well, if you're not super disciplined, you're not going to be able to kind of accomplish, and you're not going to be able to drive yourself to those goals. I'm guilty of thinking that too. I think a lot of high achievers and high performers think that to hold ourselves to those certain levels, that we have to have this next level of discipline, and that habit tracking can help with that. And more power to you if you are that person. But I've kind of realized for myself, I need to take a break from that. I need to take a break from treating my self-care habits and my, these routines that I engage in for my self-care and for my benefit. I need to stop treating them like checklist items. I really need to be more intentional, more present in that habit, as opposed to treating it like something that I need to just check off a list every morning. I guess I needed the little reminder for myself that it is okay to release the pressure of tracking every little thing. And maybe you needed to hear that as well. Maybe you also needed to hear that it's okay to release the pressure of tracking every single habit and every single behavior you engage in. I'm kind of realizing, and perhaps this is the burnout coach in me, that I want to enjoy those things more so than I want to check them off the list. And that's kind of why I've made the decision for me to really step away from diligently tracking my habits. I'm trying to embrace a more compassionate, more flexible approach when it comes to what behaviors I engage in on what day, and to just kind of have a bit more grace with myself and know that my needs may not be the same every single day. So that's what I wanted to share today. That is why I diligently stopped tracking my habits. If this is something that resonates with you, feel free to drop a comment below. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts, your perspective on this. Have you ever had this experience as well? And then once again, as always, thank you so much for being here. If you are loving content like this, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, my friend, I will see you next time. Bye.